Yo, what is up, everybody? It is your boy out here, CJ the DJ, coming to you live with a brand new episode of Hustle and Burn. As always, man, appreciate y'all tuning in. Hope everybody had a great week. Hopefully, we can end it off right, you dig? Appreciate our sponsors, of course, Diamond Consulting, guys. For any general contractors out there in the Front Range area that may need or utilize subcontractors in any different scopes of work, guys, for your new builds, remodels, renovations, contact Diamond Consulting. They provide a private network of fully insured, pre-vetted subcontractors looking to grow and scale their companies. So contact Diamond Consulting, guys, 720-563-7452. We got plenty to get into today, man. We gonna kick it off with my boy at CU Colorado, Travis Hunter, man. Travis Hunter this past weekend, I said it on the Quick Burns if you haven't seen it yet this week on the Instagram and everything. 3 touchdowns, an interception on defense. Overall in the season, he's top 3 on offense at wide receiver. He's top 3 on defense at cornerback. What more can you want from the kid? What more can you do for a Heisman? What more can you do for a Heisman? Now, I get it. You got Ashton Jeanty up at Boise State, okay? Ashton Jeanty, amazing season, historical, right? But I want to put this out there just so we can get it into perspective, since there were some haters this week talking about snap count doesn't count as a stat. Well, let's talk about some stats that do count. His quarterback has 2,500 passing yards on the season. Guys, for reference, that's 500 yards more than Daniel Jones, the New York Giants quarterback who got benched, 4th string. We've talked about it before, of course, who got benched and cut. That's 500 yards more overall in the season than a quarterback who just got demoted to 4th string and cut after signing a $160 million deal. So realistically speaking, when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, the kid's probably very good. He can run his ass off, right? But at the end of the day, it's easy to rush for 2,000 yards in a season when there's no wide receiver on your team that is over 1,000 yards receiving, okay? And a lot of times that's not going to be the case in the NFL. On top of that, his quarterback has a 61% completion rate. All right. So, if we're going to say stats, snap count isn't a stat, let's talk about the stats, bro. Like, those are real stats. And my fear for Ashton Jeanty, as we see a lot of times with running backs, is you end up getting just run into the ground completely by these teams. This kid is rushing for 2,000 yards on a season. That's great. But what does that look like on this kid's legs? How many, seasons does that take off of him in the NFL? Because the NFL is a much, of course, rougher league than college football is, right? So, I don't know what's going to happen. I actually think Ashton Jeanty is, funny enough, going to end up on the Dallas Cowboys. We need a running back. I think, running backs in the drafts aren't very, people don't really pick running backs in the draft, if you will, a lot of times, just because of past experiences with running backs. A lot of times it never works out when you draft a running back. They don't become a star with you. We'll see what happens. But I actually think Ashton Jeanty, he's also said publicly he would love to be a Dallas Cowboy. So I think he is going to be a Dallas Cowboy. But again, Travis Hunter, guys, to me, in my opinion, has the Heisman locked up. There's nothing more that this kid can do. Again, it's both on offense and it's on defense. And I was just talking to my brother-in-law this evening, and he posed the question of, in the NFL, where does Travis Hunter go? Because everyone's saying, Travis Hunter is going to go number 1, number 2, number 3. Definitely top 5, of course. We know that, right? But does he go out as a cornerback, or does he go out as a wide receiver in the NFL? I think as cornerback, he is a lockdown corner. I mean, if you look at it, guys, a lot of teams don't want to throw his way because his ball hawking ability is just ridiculous. The way that he's able to track the ball, the way that he's able to break to the ball on out routes and in routes and things of that nature when he's guarding these wide receivers is absolutely ridiculous. And it's because He's also so good at the wide receiver position. He has the footwork, so he knows what the footwork looks like, and that's all he's doing when he's on defense. It's stellar. But I think if you're an NFL team, let's say, because again, we were chatting about this too, and we'll get into it. If you're the New York Giants, potentially to be able to pair Travis Hunter with a Malik Neighbors, that's a substantial position to be in. And I don't know if you can pass that up to go get a quarterback, right? You may want to draft Shador, but at the end of the day, can you pass up pairing Travis Hunter and Malik Neighbors? And does that actually make the New York Giants more of a favorable designation for a quarterback in free agency this upcoming offseason or potentially next offseason, depending on what they want to do? I think it would. So does he go out at wide receiver? I personally think Travis Hunter is going to come out and play in the NFL as a slot wide receiver. He has a very small frame, and that's the only reason, potentially because of his frame, that I could see him being a cornerback, because he is kind of little. But in the NFL, I could see him being a slot receiver. I honestly could see him being a full-time cornerback and a part-time offensive player in the NFL. I could see him still playing some reps in the league at wide receiver because, again, he's such a threat. And if he can do it, let him do it. So, really, it's kind of, a lot of teams, you can say that the season's over. Obviously, the top picks aren't selected. There's still a couple more weeks in the NFL. But if the season were to end right now, the number one pick would be the New York Giants. Number 2 is the Las Vegas Raiders. Number 3 is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 4 is the New England Patriots. So, if that were the situation, and we have the Giants at 1, we know they need a quarterback. We have the Raiders at 2, we know they need a quarterback. We have the Jags at 3, we know they need a wide receiver to pair with Trevor Lawrence. So it's a very interesting coupling, actually. Funny enough, I'm going to be at the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Jacksonville Jaguars game in Las Vegas. That'll be a good one. And that's actually going to, I think that game potentially may determine who gets the number 2 or 3 pick. And depending on what the Giants do. If the Giants can win 1 or 2 games, they may fall back. But, at this time in the season with these teams and everything they're doing, the Giants are trying to lose. Obviously, they got rid of Daniel Jones. You know what I mean? Quarterback situation isn't looking good. But at the end of the day, do the Giants go for Shador to pair him with Malik Neighbors and hope that he's the future? Or do you go with Travis Hunter and hope that that's attractive enough to get a quarterback this offseason or potentially next offseason, if you're willing to essentially take kind of a down year next year, if you're the New York Giants, just to get a free agent quarterback in the next free agency? I haven't looked too much into it about who's going to be up to play next year, but things could change. It's going to be very interesting. Deion Sanders was actually at a dinner for Shador Sanders. He won the essentially quarterback of the year for the conference or something like that. They had a conference for it, a presentation ceremony, trophy ceremony, in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium or somewhere in that area, something like that. AP, the Las Vegas Raiders head coach, was in attendance. He was kind of hosting. Deion Sanders was also there. I mentioned to my brother-in-law this evening as well. If you guys notice and you're looking on the media, Deion Sanders, for the first time in about a year and a half, is clean shaved on his face. He has no beard. He has nothing on his face. He's clean shaven. The reason that is because he's going to be doing these media interviews. He's going to be going to interview on behalf of Shador Sanders going into the NFL. So it's going to be very interesting, and I think that's something to pay attention to is, you're going to be seeing a lot of Deion Sanders. If you thought you saw a lot of him in this season for Colorado, you're going to be seeing a lot of Deion Sanders this offseason, guys, just in regard to Shador Sanders. And so, he essentially straight up asked AP, this is Deion Sanders I'm speaking on, asked AP, the head coach of the Raiders, essentially said at this ceremony, all I need you to do is draft Shador and Shiloh. And I think that's going to happen. I think anywhere that Shador Sanders goes, Shiloh Sanders will follow as well in the draft. Obviously, Shiloh isn't going to be a first-round draft pick, in my opinion, at least. I think he's going to be second or third round. And so I think you are going to see Shador and Shiloh Sanders on the exact same NFL team. Do I think Shiloh is going to start on an NFL team? No. I think he's going to have an opportunity to compete for a position on an NFL team, maybe be second, third string, maybe rotation safety, something like that. He is a talented kid. He is talented at the position, but we'll see. It's going to be very interesting, man. I'm very excited to see what happens. If he goes to the Raiders, I got to get a Shedeur Sanders Raiders jersey. I mean, I just got to do it. Of course, I got to do it. But one thing I wanted to kind of get into on the pod today, guys, was getting into more cryptocurrencies. Obviously, it's been kind of a bigger thing in the news for everybody, and cryptocurrency is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. I'm still not, fully familiar with anything like that. I'm no expert, of course. But crypto operates, guys, on it is essentially a digital currency used for buying goods and services online. Okay. And in the future, the hope is that it's implemented into real world physical things. So rather than just being able to buy goods and services online, the hope is, and what it looks like is going to happen, is you're going to be able to purchase physical things with this digital currency. And so, it's used for investing as well, similar to stocks. You can invest in these cryptocurrencies as they go up, as they go down. You're going to lose money, but it's unlike the US dollar, where there's limited supply, or I guess where there's infinite supply, if you will, of the US dollar. With cryptocurrencies, guys, there's limited supply. And what that does is it causes a demand for it. It causes the value to increase over time as these coins are purchased. Okay. And as the market cap of these coins continues to rise and rise and rise and rise and rise. And so the U.S., as you all know, if you don't know, you should know, the U.S. obviously at this point just prints money when we need more, right? If we need more money, if we need $1 billion to send to Ukraine, let's say, we're going to print $1 billion, okay, and just send it. So there's no real value in that. It's backed by our gold supply, of course, but the value goes down over time because the more that's created and put into circulation, obviously that's just how it works. So that's not the case with cryptocurrency. Again, there's a limited supply that's ever going to be created of these coins, and so as the demand goes up, obviously the value of every coin goes up. Obviously the money that's invested can go up. The things that you can buy with those goes up now based on the value of that coin. So very interesting concept. On top of that, it isn't a government controlled asset, if you will, as the US dollar currency is, as other currencies are. So it operates on what's called a blockchain, guys. A blockchain records every single transaction, which helps ensure transparency and security, of course, on the blockchain, on the network for everything. And what it is it's a ledger that keeps track of all transactions at all times, anywhere in the world. And this is something that is again a lot different too than just a currency or a regular transaction thing. It is worldwide, guys. These currencies can be traded, they can be sent, they can do anything worldwide. It isn't just a United States thing, it isn't just another country thing. And so that ledger of transactions is essentially edit proof. Meaning nobody can go in and manipulate or change a transaction once it occurs, unless the general consensus, aka everyone operating on that blockchain, aka millions of people, accept it and agree to it, which is just never going to happen, right? And so it's decentralized, meaning there's no one singular entity, again, as I mentioned, that controls it, so it can't be manipulated or hacked, is the concept behind it. If someone hacks into the bank servers that you have right now, they have everything they need, right? They have your account number, routing number, social security number, date of birth, probably your PIN number for your debit card, right? And so, it's just something that, guys, I'm again, no expert on cryptocurrency, but why I bring this up is because I believe all money is good money, and allowing money to just sit and not work for you is a mistake. And we're all at fault for it because that's how we're taught. But I think that's a main difference of rich and broke people, if you will. Broke people spend their money on bills, and what little they have, they try and save and, set aside for a rainy day, right? Whereas rich people put their money to work. They invest in different ventures. They invest in properties and assets and things of that nature. And so it's just about making your money work. And so, what I would say is, for anyone listening, do some research for yourself. This is, of course, not financial advice for you, but if you invest right now into, let's say, stocks, I would maybe think into taking a percentage of what you invest in stocks and putting it in cryptocurrency. If you have a 401k that you put in monthly through your job, I would potentially put a lesser amount in the 401k per month, switch it up a little bit, have it deposited to your account, deposit that into a cryptocurrency account. And now you have a 401k and some cryptocurrency making money. I would argue and probably say it's not guaranteed, of course. Obviously, circumstances could change, but the way it's looking, guys, is, cryptocurrencies, if you just put it in the biggest ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that, it is probably going to double what your 401k is going to make in the next 4 to 8 years, I would say. By 2030, if you do continuously put in money, I would argue, realistically speaking, that your money will again double as these coins go up in value. So, even if you don't think so, the general public, it isn't very keen, I would say, or aware still of what cryptocurrency is. And that's why I think it's such a big opportunity, is these coins are worth so much money. Like, guys, there's like 8-year-olds making millions of dollars off of cryptocurrency, sitting at their parents' house in their room, literally making millions of dollars. If an 8-year-old can do it, I would argue 90% of the people listening to this podcast most likely can do it as well. Just about attaining the information that we need to be able to get there, right? And so I would tell everyone that's listening to the pod, go do more research. If you're in cryptocurrency, go do even more research than you already have. Go look a little bit into these videos. Take a couple days to really get a general sense of the things that you're investing in, what the future looks like for them, and make sure that you have a plan, guys, because I really think that everyone should be investing in this. And that's what I wanted to make sure I got out there. We're going to get into some music chat today on the pod. Big news, big news. Big news in the music world, man. Andrew Shulz and Kendrick Lamar. This is, obviously Kendrick just beefing with everybody this year, realistically. But Kendrick Lamar, he said on his new album that we can't let a white man speak on black women, and that is law. And that's in reference to Andrew Shulz making a comment on his podcast, essentially stating that black women are the most, or the least, I should say, desirable of the race of women, because of certain things within the personalities, because of the certain actions. And so, Kendrick said again on his new album, we can't let a white man speak on black women, that's law. Essentially, Andrew Shulz responds to Kendrick wanting to protect black women by saying if that's the case, then he shouldn't collab with Future, who is, of course, the toxic king. Future talks about all this nonsense about going through these women. We've seen him publicly have 6, 7, 8 different baby mamas, right? He even brought up previously that Kendrick Lamar, and this is public, you guys can go look this up for yourselves. This isn't just, this isn't just chat. Kendrick Lamar publicly said directly to Spotify, okay, this is a couple years back, that if they remove R. Kelly's music from the platform of Spotify, because obviously there's been a ban on R. Kelly music for his, what he did, why he's in prison, what he did to young women while he was a superstar. Kendrick said, if you remove R. Kelly's music, I'm going to remove my music from your platform. He said that directly to Spotify. Go look it up, guys. And so Andrew Schulz used that against Kendrick Lamar. And I think a very good point is made, man. It's like, where do we draw the line at the hypocrisy? When it comes to Kendrick, I think Kendrick is on the he's on the forefront of black culture, but I think he's only on the forefront of black culture when he's dropping an album, when he's dropping a single, something like that. But he wants us to believe in him as the number one guy, as the Messiah, right, at all times. But he's only there when certain things pop up and it's the right time and it feels right. Right? And it's an image, to me, in my opinion, that he wants to feed and build up his confidence, and it makes him feel appreciated because he may not, whatever the case may be. But again, as I've stated multiple times, just make better music. Gen X is the first album in almost 5 to 7 years, most likely, I would say and argue, that we as fans actually can bang in the car. It's what so many fans are saying. Is I want to be able to, when I hop in the car, when I throw on the aux, throw this song on, and it's lit, right? And that's just not the case. And I think with Kendrick, he is becoming very, very, very Kanye-esque. And the reason I say Kanye-esque is because I think he's almost as good at captivating his audience at the times that he pops out as Kanye West is. That's been Kanye's kind of MO the last 5 to 7 years as well. Is I'm gonna pop out, I'm gonna do these big events, it's gonna be crazy, and I'm gonna have the spotlight for that moment in time, right? And it's like, really, their fan bases are so cult-like that nothing they say or do can be wrong at all, and no matter what they say, how mid the music may be potentially, for that time, for those days, maybe the weeks after, or even potentially the months, depending on how hot the album is, they are the talk of the town. They are the talk of the genre. And they're making the money for a year or two, right? And then they disappear for 3 to 5 years. And then they pop up and they captivate the fans and the aura of this, right? And it's just, I don't know. Kendrick Lamar is becoming very, very Kanye-esque to me in that sense. Of just having a cult-like following now at this point. He comes in to captivate him. It's similar to Playboy Cardi and what he does. We're going to be mysterious and yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, man. Kendrick also announced that he is going on tour with SZA. This is right before the Super Bowl that he will be going on tour. So, you know, he's really taking advantage of the Drake clout that he is receiving right now. And, you know, I honestly like to see Kendrick shining, man. I ain't a hater, of course. I just hope he doesn't, again, disappear for 5+ years after this. That's my big hope that comes out of this, is that Kendrick stays consistent, that he continues to be in the game, and, you know, that's where we kind of leave it at with him. Some more music news, some big music news I wanted to get into this week, man. This is absolutely treacherous, guys. Now, Yak Gotti is his name, Y-A-K Gotti, Yak Gotti, and other members involved in the YSL case, along with Young Thug that we've chatted about multiple times on previous podcasts as well, have been found not guilty, guys, not guilty. Now, the not guilty verdict for them comes less than 60 days after Young Thug himself accepted a 15-year probation plea deal for the exact same case. Now, of course, obviously, Thugger may have had a few more charges than these guys did, being kind of the main guy, but really, this Thug got screwed. Thug got absolutely screwed on this, and I love Brian Steele, his lawyer. I love his team of lawyers, but to accept that plea, man, in the situation that they were in, and the way that the case was just falling apart, the way that the prosecution just couldn't put the evidence together. They were trying to bring new evidence in all the time that they didn't properly disclose before, things of that nature. We had a judge replaced on the case. I don't think a plea deal should have even been on the table. I get it, he was locked up for, you know, I think it was 2 or 3 years, man, and I think that's what a lot of people said is, you know, he just wanted to come home to his family. When you've been locked up that long, you know, I get it, but what it leads me to believe, seeing that we got a not guilty verdict with multiple people now in the YSL case who did take it all the way, what it leads me to believe is that the prosecution actually set Young Thug up, offering him an extremely high plea deal. So the report was, when it initially came out, that they offered Young Thug a plea deal that he didn't like. He thought the stipulations of the plea deal were extreme, okay? And then his lawyers came back and counter-offered with a plea deal, all right? And then, after both sides had their plea deals in, the judge then basically had the dictation to decide what the official sentencing was going to be, okay? And so, again, why I say it leads me to believe that the prosecution set Thug up. I think they knew that this case was most likely going to a not guilty verdict. And what they did was they offered him an extremely high plea deal at a very vulnerable time when he felt like he had the upper hand. They offered the most extreme plea deal possible. His team comes and counteroffers. And then the prosecution, gotcha, right? He's on a leash for 15 years, bro. 15 years, right? So I think they were expecting. And I think the prosecution and the judge, of course, when this plea deal came back from him, there was minor, changes from the judge, but I think they accepted it immediately. Of course, yeah, that's what we want. And so, now the same people he allegedly committed the crimes that he is being charged with and that he's on probation for, the same people that he's being charged for doing these crimes with got found not guilty for these crimes that he is going to be on probation for the next 15 years. That is absolutely treacherous, man. And we've again chatted about it on previous episodes, but I think this is a play yourself out of your position moment. I really do. I get it. Again, Thug was locked up for so long, man, but close people to him actually did pass away while he was locked up. He had a couple family members, and obviously his kids missing him, but and I'm sure the money wasn't flowing. I'm sure the money wasn't flowing the way that it was when he first got locked up, right? So, of course, that played a factor. But at the end of the day, man, for him to go and accept this plea deal, the stipulations, we've read out the stipulations. If you haven't read them, go listen to the previous podcast that we chatted about. But I don't see how you can operate the same in the rap game, especially. And I think due to stress and, family, financial, mental, all the above, Thugger played himself out of his position. There's no way that you can operate within the rap game. I already saw, and it was said that he's already in Miami after being released. He's already been in the studio with Lil Baby, Future. I don't see this ending well for Young Thug. If the judge says right now, and part of your plea deal is you can't be around known gang members or individuals that are associated with gang activity. Lil Baby's new song, multiple new songs he just released are talking about gangster shit, right? So how can you be in the studio with that individual with that not raising an eyebrow? You feel me? And again, looking at the case, the lack of evidence, everything like that, the fact that the judge had to be changed mid-case because they said that the initial judge was conspiring with the prosecution. They said the initial judge was conspiring with the initial prosecution, man. I think Young Thug played himself out of his position. With that being said, I hate to do it. I really hate to do it because I love Young Thug. But the Fried Award of the Week, guys, the Fried Award of the Week goes to Young Thug and his and his lawyer defense team. Young Thug and his lawyer defense team get the Fried Award of the Week, guys. I get it. You don't want to gamble with your life going up against a jury. You've been locked up a long time. Money's slowing down. But 15 years on probation, man. 15 years on probation. I don't see it working out. And I think that's how the system gets you, man. They got Thug. They got Thug for quite some time, y'all. They got Thug for quite some time. Now, this week, guys, I am not going to have any NFL picks. I am sorry to those that tune in for the NFL picks. I know we didn't even have much NFL chat this week. I'm sorry. We'll get back to the NFL picks next week, but I do want to give a shout out to our NFL pick sponsors per week. OSRBC, guys. This is a Raiders club on Instagram. OSRBC.Denver on Instagram. They get together at Play Ball Sports Bar and Grill every Sunday down in Lakewood, guys. Great bar, great atmosphere, great people, members new and old. Come on down. Even if you're not a Las Vegas Raiders fan, even if you're not a Dallas Cowboys fan like myself, come on down. Have some fun. Have a couple drinks with the gang, man. Everybody will be there having a good time. Shout out to ORSBC.Denver, guys. Appreciate y'all tuning in. This has been an episode of Hustle and Burn. We out.